Dear learners, greetings. Today I am going to discuss a very important topic, and that is, as you can see on the screen, Rekhta, a language of Indian culture and Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb. So, what is Rekhta? So, first let me tell you what is Rekhta, how it is evolved, and how it has the roots in Indian ethos and culture, how it represents the pluralistic culture and composite culture of India, how it is a true representative of Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb, and then I will be talking some other things related with the Rekhta. I mean, particularly its contribution so far as promoting the communal harmony is concerned, or its role in the freedom movement is concerned. So first, let me explain what is Rekhta. Rekhta literally means mixed or poured together. It denotes a linguistic blend that evolved from the interaction of Khadi Boli, Brij Bhasha, Persian, and Arabic. More than a language, Rekhta basically is a symbol of India's shared cultural consciousness. So, you know that India is a multilingual country. It's a very unique country so far as language is concerned. Some poet has said that India is such a country that कोस कोस पे बदले पानी तीन कोस पे बदले वानी. I mean, so many varieties of languages are there. So many dialects are in India are there, and so many important languages of the world. In fact, they have evolved on this great soil of India. So, out of all these languages, basically, Rekhta is a very important language. So, in India, Khadi Boli, in some part of the country, Khadi Boli is used, and particularly if you see Western UP and Delhi and these areas, so, this Khadi Boli is there. In some parts of Western UP, Braj Bhasha is there. Definitely Persian and Arabic, these two languages, they came to India from other nations, but they also, Persian speaking people and Arabic speaking people, they amalgamated, in fact, with the Indian people, and finally, with all these, in fact, this language was evolved. So, basically, if you see, it was originated in North India, and particularly, if you talk about Rekhta, a great poet, Amir Khusro, in fact, gave its name as Zabane Hindavi. So, Hind, that is India, Hindavi, that is Indian, yeah, or India ka, Bharat ka, Zabane Hindavi, that is the language of India. And definitely, some people, said it Lashkari language as well. And Lashkar is what army, and what is army? A mixture of so many people. So by that way, some people also have given its name as Lashkari Zaban. So if you see its root, early roots are found in Delhi Sultanate, and particularly in the Mughal courts. And particularly if you see in Mughal courts, the official language of the Mughals was Persian, in fact. But later on, later medieval period, if you see, then you will find that certain kind of prevalence of using Urdu was there. And in fact, Amir Khusro, as I have mentioned, was a great Sufi, basically, who did a fusion of Persian with local dialects, and by that way this language came into existence. And later on, earlier, if you see, in the beginning it was concentrated in the northern part of the India, but later on it reached to Deccan as well, in southern India also. And there was a great poet, Wali Dakkani. He popularized much this language in the southern part of the country. And its important centers were Mughal centers, basically Delhi and Lucknow. And much of Urdu, in fact, has been developed in Delhi and Lucknow, and of course in some other areas also. So, Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb, what is it? You people are very young, and in fact, if you'll go through the history, you will find that India is such a country where you will find so many cultures have come and an Indian culture has evolved. So this culture basically is pluralistic in nature. This culture is composite culture basically. And Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb, basically the meaning is this. Let me first explain the literal meaning. So Ganga flows from some other, Ganga is a river, a sacred river. It flows from some direction and it went to some place, and Jamuna flows from some other place, and they mix with each other. They meet with each other at Allahabad, which is now known as Prayagraj in UP. And Ganga Jamuni means such type of culture which are mixed with each other in such a way that it is very difficult to differentiate. This shows Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb. And this is our cultural essence of Indian culture. So, what does it refer? I mean, Ganga Jamuna Tehzeeb refers to the composite Indo-Islamic civilization that blended Hindu and Muslim traditions. It embodies mutual respect, tolerance, and shared aesthetics. Rekhta became a linguistic expression of this syncretic culture. So, at this juncture of time, let me explain. There were so many great poets of Rekhta, that later on became Urdu, who were Hindu basically, and their culture was Hindu. So Premchand, before Premchand, there was one great scholar, Pandit Ratan Nath Sarshar. Then you will find, even if you come forward a later period, Khushwant Singh, who was a Sikh, in fact, Raghupati Sahai, Firak Gorakhpuri, again a Hindu, and even Amrita Pritam, basically a Sikh. So, all these people have contributed a lot so far as the development of this language is concerned. And if you see Premchand, a great Hindi scholar, in fact, initially he wrote in the name of Nawab Rai. So his pen name was Nawab Rai, and he started writing with Urdu, and later on he switched to Hindi. And his first, in fact, important creation was Soze Watan, that was written in Urdu, and later on, since it talked about nationalism and other things, so it was banned by the British government of India. So, by that way, this particular Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb, which is shown by Urdu, which is shown by Rekhta, in fact, is talking about mutual respect, it's talking about tolerance, and it's talking about shared aesthetics. So definitely, in true sense, it became the linguistic expression of syncretic culture. Now, Rekhta basically later on became a certain kind of such a language which you can say became lingua franca also. This was a language which was spoken by so many people. This was a language, through which so many people came together. So, at the medieval time, if you see two particular movements were there in India. One was Bhakti movement and another one was Sufi movement. So, Rekhta basically brought these two movements together, that is Bhakti movement as well as Sufi movements. And its poetry, if you say, it reflected themes of divine love, unity, and humanity, and shared metaphors from both Indic spirituality and Islamic mysticism. It created a common emotional vocabulary for people of diverse faiths. So, Rama and Krishna, these two are great characters in India. So, and so many people have written about these characters. So if you see Urdu poets, particularly Nazir Akbar Abadi, he was a great Urdu poet, and Mir Anis, a great Urdu poet, Mir Taqi Mir, a great Urdu poet, even Allama Muhammad Iqbal, he was a great poet. They also have written about these characters. So by that way, in fact, this Rekhta has brought a cultural dialogue of people of different faiths. So, it talked about, as I mentioned, divine love, unity, and humanity. So, Ghazal, it's very unique contribution of this, Rekhta, Ghazal. So, Ghazal, what's the literal meaning? Ghazal means to talk to your beloved. So, but don't take it in narrow sense. To talk to beloved, don't take it in narrow sense. And one poet has very clearly mentioned about it. मैं तो गजल सुना के अकेला ही रह गया, मैं तो गजल सुना के अकेला ही रह गया, सब अपने अपने चाहने वालों में खो गए. So, beloved, don't take the narrow sense of beloved. I mean, to whomsoever you love, talking to him or her, that is ghazal, and it's a very unique contribution basically of Rekhta. So, uh, as I mentioned, it thrived in Delhi, Lucknow, Hyderabad. It influenced poetry, prose, and music. It was patronized by Mughal elites and Sufi shrines. It functioned as a language of courtly grace and everyday emotion. It paved the way for the standardization of Urdu language. I mean, Rekhta later on, in fact, was standardized and became the Urdu language. And later on, if you see the freedom struggle, so it plays a very important role. It played very important role, particularly in freedom struggle. And in 1857, the first Indian freedom movement. Our leader was Bahadur Shah Zafar, the Mughal emperor, the last Mughal emperor. Bahadur Shah Zafar was the leader of India. So, but unfortunately, this movement could not succeed, and Bahadur Shah Zafar was arrested. And at that time, he gave a couplet that became very popular, and that couplet was बू रहेगी गाजियों में जब तलक ईमान की तख्ते लंदन तक चलेगी तेग हिंदुस्तान की. I mean, Indian people, they will keep on uniting themselves, they will keep on fighting, and they will not only fight in India, rather they will fight till London unless and until India is freed. So, similarly, so many slogans, if you talk, Inqalab Zindabad or Firangi. So, what is this Firangi? Basically, Firangi was a word which was a Urdu word which was used particularly for the English people. So, there was a great Hindi poet, Subhadra Kumari Chauhan. So, she has written so many poems in Hindi. One such Hindi was devoted uh, uh, to the Queen of Jhansi, Lakshmi Bai. So, अ, चमक उठी सन 57 में जो तलवार पुरानी थी, खूब लड़ी मर्दानी वो तो झांसी वाली रानी थी, बुंदेले हर बोलों के मुंह हमने सुनी कहानी थी, दूर फिरंगी को करने की सबने मन में ठानी थी. So this Firangi word basically was given by Urdu, and it was used by all the people, all the nationalist people. So by that way you can say that Urdu or this particular language, Rekhta, in fact, which later on became Urdu, it was not only for the elites, rather it was the language of the freedom fighters as well. So, how, I mean, Rekhta contributed in syncretism, so it became a medium of cultural and linguistic syncretism. I mean, two cultures were brought together, so many languages were brought together, and it reflected shared festivals, idioms, and artistic sensibilities. So, Diwali, I mean, it's a big festival. Eid, it is a big festival. Nowruz, in fact, it's a big festival. Similarly, Guru Parv, if you see, it's a big festival. Christmas, it is a big festival. So, Urdu poets and Urdu authors, in fact, they brought all these together. In their writings, they have mentioned about Himalaya. Himalaya is a symbol of strength. Himalaya is a symbol of, you can say, I mean, how strong we are. So, at this juncture of time, I would like to compare the writing of two great poets. So, one was Iqbal. He wrote in Urdu about Himalaya. Simultaneously, Ramdhari Singh Dinkar, he was a great poet, and his period was definitely much later than Iqbal's period, but he wrote about Himalaya in Hindi. So the topic is same, the issue is same, and two different type of people used two different type of languages to describe just one thing. By that way, in fact, Rekhta contributed a lot so far as this syncretism is concerned. Another thing that's very important, that Rekhta offered an opportunity to counter narratives to communal divides and by celebrating diversity. And India is a country of diversity. India is very unique because so many people belonging to so many religions, so many customs, belonging to so many castes, so many regions. I mean, they live together, and that's why our first Prime Minister Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru described India as unity in diversity. So Rekhta, in fact, in that way has contributed a lot. It celebrated diversity, and by that way, it provided a counter a measure to communal divide. Then, of course, there is no need to say that encouraged unity through aesthetic and spiritual harmony. So far as Rekhta in the modern era is concerned, I mean, nowadays, since we are living in an era of technology, we are living in information age. So Rekhta nowadays has got some renewed attention. And particularly, you people know that there is one Rekhta Foundation based in Delhi, and it is trying to translate so many, in fact, precious poetry and precious work of the Urdu poets in various languages, particularly English languages, and it's trying to make it available in English so that people, though those people who don't know the manuscript of Urdu or manuscript of Rekhta, in fact, they may know about it. So, one such important contribution of Rekhta was the translation work. And if you see, there were so many Urdu poets who translated Shrimad Bhagavad Gita in Urdu. They translated Ramayana in Urdu. They translated Ramcharit Manas in Urdu. They translated Mahabharata in Urdu, and various other epics, various other religious scriptures. In fact, they translated in Urdu. So translation was such an important work which was initiated by Rekhta. And if you see, through Rekhta, in fact, such great knowledge was made available to the masses. So that is one of the important contribution. And in modern era, in fact, nowadays also we are focusing on translation work, because through translation definitely it's easy for us to know about one language, though we are not aware about the manuscript, but through translation at least we can understand what's there in that particular language. So Rekhta festival celebrate poetry, calligraphy, and cultural dialogue. It continues to inspire films, music, and popular culture, and it symbolizes India's living heritage of pluralism. So see any film, in fact, and see any lyricist who writes this particular lyrics for the films, so you will find that they have knowledge of Urdu. So you can't have the concept of a film without lyrics. Lyrics are very important. So music is very important, lyrics are very important, and particularly in cinema it's very important. So in modern era, in fact, Rekhta is contributing in that way. I mean, it's contributing to the films, it's contributing to the music, and it's contributing to the popular culture. And nowadays there is one thing that has happened, that people from different countries, in fact, they are coming to study Urdu, and so many scholars, particularly, they visit to Lucknow, they visit to Delhi, they visit to Hyderabad, and they visit to important centers, so that they may know how Urdu has evolved and what's the contribution of Urdu. So in a true sense, if you see, the heritage of India, that is in the form of pluralism. So India's strength is pluralism. India's strength is a pluralistic society. So by that way, if you see minutely, you will find that even Rekhta is contributing a lot so far as this pluralism is concerned. So in a nutshell, what I have said, that basically born in 14th century as Zabane Hindavi or Lashkari Zaban. In fact, slowly and slowly it reached to masses, and it was patronized by elites, it was patronized by the court Mughal courts and other courts, but later on it became the masses of the language. And if you see even today, Rekhta stands as a testament to India's composite culture. It reminds us that language can heal divisions and build understanding. Even language is such an important thing that can in fact heal so many divisions. At this juncture of time, I would particularly like to uh, give you an example. Bengali is a very important language. It's one of the most important language of the world. So so many Bengali people live in India simultaneously. So many Bengali people live in another country, that is Bangladesh. But language is such a thing that somehow I mean heals this division. So these two countries are different. Their religion is different. I mean, so many ways customs are different, but language is common, and that language is such a strong bond between the people of two countries that it unites them. So by that way, in fact, what I want to say, that language can heal divisions and language can build understanding, and Urdu is such a thing, Rekhta is such a thing, definitely, that has the capacity to do it. So nowadays, if you see, it is spoken in Pakistan, it is spoken in India, it is spoken in Bangladesh, and it is spoken in so many other countries. So it has the capacity to build the understanding among uh, so many people, and it is the truly representative of Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb. I mean, which is a model of harmony, which is a model of tolerance and shared identity in modern India. That's enough for today. Thank you very much for listening to me.